Hello race fans, it's Rob here. So this is the first Sports Car Challenge practice session at Portland International Raceway. At this time, I would also like to ask you to join my Discord channel at Sim Racers United. The link will be down in the description. And also, before we really get into it, I would also like to ask you to please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification bell, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of this track. I think I kind of like it. It's nice and flowy, and yeah, something new. Week 1, let's go. Turn 1 is probably the worst turn on this track. It's tight on entry. You have to get it just right. You have to hit the curb just the right way. And you have to make sure you're not on the brakes when you land after jumping over the curb, or the car spins. Also, going into turn 2, you want to make sure you downshift cut it in, downshift it to first gear, and you want to cut the corner as tight as possible. Generally chopping off the tip of the corner.
I knew something else was missing here. There's nobody else on track.
Check. Spot a radio check.
I normally advocate for not stopping on the track, but considering there was nobody else in this session at this time, I felt it was fine. No harm, no foul. I forgot to turn crew chief app on, just in case anybody else got into the session, and also so that way crew chief can annoy me if I don't go through a corner properly.
First time I've done that.
I have no idea why the car oversteered that badly on corner exit when the steering wheel was being opened up. Maybe too much throttle at the time. I don't know. I kind of feel like I've gone through that corner the way I have in the previous test session, when I did a test session before the official season started.
It's more like how you're supposed to come out of turn 12.
To Ben from the Brook Racing. This corner coming up is wide. I don't think you were in the wrong. Listen to when the spotter says right side.
Right side. Still there. Clear right.
Whether that other driver was using crew chief app or even default iRacing spotter, he would have had more than enough notice that you were alongside of him and he shouldn't have turned in.
Sector 2 times quick.
Don't really want to hit that curb on exit.
P4.
Don't really want to track all the way out wide like that.
So the fastest lap for Hans 17.00. Sector 2 is 0.35 off the pace.
Not happy with this lap either.
P3. Sector 3 is 0.45 off the pace. Sector 1's quick.
Got on the throttle too soon. Had a great first sector.
Sector 2 is 0.47 off the pace.
If we could do it without hitting the wall on entry.
6 off the pace.
Too much input.
Okay, Rob, there's a faster car approaching. Now 1.1 seconds off the leader's pace. Sector 3 times okay. Detect in sector 2. Alright, clear to the right.
New personal best. We're in the 116s.
Alright, little track guide. So, start braking between the 500 and 400 board. You want to cut this corner as close to that wall as possible. You want to clip this corner. Make sure you're in first gear for rotation. Coming out into turn 3. Brake at this ground patch. Sacrifice the first corner. Nail the second corner. You want to have as much entry exit speed as you can for turn 6. You want to hold it tight, kind of a late apex, but you want to stay mid-track. Turn 7, brake, but you want to get as much rotation as you can and clip that corner as much as you can. I kind of missed the apex again on that corner. Turn 8, you want to brake at the 200mm board on the right side. Clip as much of this corner as you can, this one as well. Downshift into second gear about here. Rotate the car, get on throttle. You want to clip that corner on exit, get it as close to the wall, and hold it to the floor. And that was another new personal best lap time for me at this track.
Sector 3 time is quick. Off the pace in sector 2. Okay, Rob, we need to watch these track limits. Currently 0.49 off the pace. Sector 3 is 0.28 off the pace. Sector 1 is 0.31 off the pace.
That was a bad idea. Just done a 17.25. Went a little quicker.
Sector 3 time is fast. The guy behind has just done a 16.91. You're 2/10 off the pace in sector 1. Off the pace. That lap time was 17.00.
What the hell? What the hell did I do here?
Well, from a great lap to blowing the first turn braking point. It's a huge slowdown penalty, something you don't want to do during a race because that will cost you a lot of position on the track and would ruin your race at that point.
16.10. Sector 3 is 1.8 off the pace. Sector 1 is 0.33 off the pace. Sector 2 is 2/10 off the pace.
Alright, so another new personal best lap time, and I will definitely take that. One of the things I was trying to do in this practice session was actually go through an entire fuel run to see how many laps I can get on a full tank of fuel, and also what the tire wear would be like at the end of that run, to see if maybe we can save time in the pits and not change tires for the next race, going into the sports car endurance race, but I don't think that's a good idea. But, like I said, I'm really enjoying this track. Turn 1 is a bitch, but the track is pretty wide, and I think it's going to make for some really fun racing, and I hope everybody does enjoy this race. For those who are participating in this race this week, the GT4 challenge, the sports car challenge, as well as the sports car endurance. So, see how it is.
Off the pace in sector 2.
I may not be getting the fastest laps, but in the session, but what I am getting is consistent low 117s, mid 116s, and I think overall for race pace, it's better to be consistent than really fast. There's no point in being really fast for one lap if you're, losing 5 seconds over the course of a race per corner or anything like that. think race pace, you want to try to have your laps as consistent as possible.
Sector 1 is 0.
Ultimately, in the end, that's
40
actually
off
what's
the
going to
base.
get you further up the field than just being outright quick in 1 or 2 laps at a time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to be in the range of where the VRS coaches are. Josh, who does the data pack for the Mercedes AMG GT4, his data pack time is in the 114s. I would love to be in the 114s, don't get me wrong. But I think for my skill set and my ability, being mid 116s, low 117s is pretty good. Seat time is always your best option for learning the track and improving lap time. But you know, you gotta do what you gotta do to improve yourself. And you know, don't forget, I don't do this as a professional. This is something that I do for fun.
Off the pace. You've just done a 116.66. Sector 1 is 0.8 off the pace. You're 10th off the pace in Sector 2. Off the leader's pace. That was at 117.04. Sector 1 is 0.8 off the pace.
This lap is shit too.
V2. Sector 2 is 0.30 off the pace.
Cloud cover, nice.
You're 2/10 off the pace in Sector 3.
I was on the brakes too soon. Alright. Let's call this session done.
Alright, so let's take a look at my lap compared to the VRS coach. The VRS coach for the Mercedes AMG GT4 is Josh Anderson. His data packs are pretty good, his tutorial's pretty good, and yeah, so let's see how my lap compares to his. One of the things you might notice is the red bar on the bottom. That is where my car is placed in relationship to his car. So anytime it goes to the side and it's red, that's my car's too far to that side. Green is ideal, yellow is your borderline, and red is obviously you're too far off the line. On the bottom right, we have the brake and throttle inputs. The steering wheel is your steering input compared to the coach. Gear shift, throttle, and brake pedal is the bars. The top right is your relative speed to the coach, and the top left is your time to the coach's time. Well, let's look at the data and see where I can improve. So overall, I'm about 1.5 seconds slower than the coach. So this is sector 1, basically turns 1 through 3. And what I'm looking at here is my throttle. I let off the throttle sooner than the coach does. I'm also on the brake sooner than the coach is. I peak my brake pressure higher than the coach does, which I think overall made me overslow the car. He held his brake more consistent, more flat into the corner than I did. Another thing I noticed in this is my steering angle is pretty close to his. The speed traces are a little, 12 miles per hour slower. Or is that 12 miles an hour faster? I can't tell from this view. As I thought, at this point, about 14 miles an hour slower than the coach into turns 1 and 2. So I'm noticing I'm downshifting sooner than the coach does. At this point here, it looks like he's about to drop his brakes. I drop my brake completely, then I get back on it. And I kind of held brake pressure when the car came down after going over turn 1. I believe that's what's happening here. I would actually have to overlay it to see. But I also noticed that into turn 1 and 2, he's downshifts into second. And I think he does that for the rotation into turn 2, whereas I'm downshifting into first. So I think the next time I go out on track, I'm going to try downshifting into second, downshifting into third, entering turn 1, and then into second for the rotation for turn 2. And then it's just, run the lap, run the car out for turn 3. I mean, turn 3 is probably the easiest turn of that in that first sector. Here's my comparison of turns 4 through 6. And I'm not that far off with letting off the throttle, getting on the brakes, but my throttle application is a little sooner than the coach is going into one of the corners, and it's a little bit higher. But I think ultimately that caused the front end to wash out on me, and I had to get off the throttle for a longer period of time, which delayed me getting on the throttle for corner exit. Stuff I've been learning to pay attention to, so now that I know that's what I did on that lap, next time I go out on track, I will try to make a change there as well. And at this point for turn 6, I have way too much brake input, and I didn't trail the brakes. I basically stabbed the brakes, held it for a second, and dropped the brakes, which ultimately caused the front end to kind of wash out. So it doesn't exactly set me up going into turn 7 properly either. Now turn 7, that I thought was my problem corner, turned out to be one of my better corners in this lap. And what I'm seeing in the data here is my peak brake pressure is too high, which I think caused me to overslow the car. I'm off the throttle at about the right time. Again, I think I overslowed the car. So I get on the throttle a little too soon, and I hold my throttle application. Here I'm on the throttle, holding my throttle, and delayed the onset of throttle. But looking at the racing line, when I probably could have got on the throttle fully a little sooner and been okay for the corner. With how early I got on the throttle, I would have forced the car to run wide because the front end would have washed out and would have went off track. Turns 8 and 9, pretty straightforward. It's flat out. Clip corner 8, clip corner 9. Make it as straight as possible. Lose as little time as possible with as little steering input as possible. Turn 10, we're seeing the same thing. Early throttle, dropping the throttle early, on the brakes early. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong as far as gear shift goes, because here I am downshifting sooner than the coach does. I have a higher brake input. I don't trail the brake at all going into turn 10. Going into what looks like we should be in turn 11. Yep, turn 11 is when I downshift to third. And I do that a little sooner than the coach does, which makes me slow down a little bit more. Which brings me down 2 miles an hour compared to the coach. And then setting up for turn 12, I downshift into second a little sooner. I have higher brake application again, over slowing the car even more. And then I could have gone on the throttle a little bit sooner than I did. And I would have, and again, looking at the racing line, if I had gotten on the throttle a little bit sooner, like the coach did, I would have been fine on corner exit. But this is the stuff you got to do to figure out where you're going slower and where you can find your lap time. I hope my lap analysis helps somebody. That's basically why I did it, is to maybe help somebody learn how to use the data to improve their lap times.